Now, one of the things that Capcom is doing, and I think that it's actually a really good idea, is leading up to Resident Evil 7, which we talked about in our E3 podcast a few weeks ago. I've already released or re-released a remastered version of Resident Evil 6. Now, this week they released a version of Resident Evil 5, and then in October, I believe, we are getting Resident Evil 4. And the nice thing is, all these versions, I want to say all of them, at least all the gameplay that I've seen about them, they are all going to be running in 60 frames per second, which I cannot wait. I'm buying the Resident Evil 4 version. They're only like $20 a piece. And they're basically, I haven't played 6 yet. I don't think 6 is, I played a little bit of 6. I don't believe it deserves all the hate that it gets. I feel like there's definitely parts of that game that shine really bright. But I enjoyed playing. I played all through Resident Evil 5, got all the DLC for it, enjoyed that game. Resident Evil 4, though, to me is like the go-to Resident Evil experience. If you have not played 4, in my opinion, you have not played Resident Evil. So can't wait for that to come out. It's going to run at 60 frames per second. Going to be buttery smooth. And any other version you get nowadays only runs at 30. So that'll be reason enough to get it. But anyway, what are we talking about with Resident Evil 5? Well, apparently, and mind you, this game launched back in 2009 for the PlayStation 3 and 360, and 30 frames per second, 720p resolution. All these games are getting resolution bumped up to 1080p, 60 frames per second, but a lot of people are reporting issues with Resident Evil 5 on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. And this ranges from frame rate drops all the way to player 2, since Resident Evil 5 was a co-op game that you could do split screen. You can't manage the inventory for player 2. Sometimes they can't even buy or upgrade weapons, which you get the opportunity to do that with every chapter. You go to a store. Yeah, there's no merchant in this one, unfortunately. But apparently the Resident Evil team within Capcom, they stated that they're aware of the current performance issues and certain gameplay bugs, and the team is currently looking into it. And what's so odd is that Resident Evil 6, which was released on these consoles a couple months ago, nothing like that. No reports of frame rate drops or odd bugs or anything like that. And Resident Evil 5 is a much less demanding game than 6 is. It's older by, it's four years older than 6. And you would think that they would have a handle on this, that, a game that was released last gen is not going to have these strange, buggy things about them, whether it's performance or odd bugs with the inventory management system.
I don't know. No. What is with Capcom and not being able to, like, these are huge problems with the game. Like, frame rate dropping, that's big. Player 2 not even being able to access their inventory or upgrade their weapons or buy. Like, like you said, this was supposed to be like their co-op game. Like, hey, you can play this with 2 people, split screen. Back in the day where, you didn't have to buy a game for every person who wanted to play it.
And heaven forbid if you're in the same room.
Yeah, but like, if player 2 can't even play the game like player 1 can, what's the point of even having a player 2 in the first place? You might as well just be playing this by yourself with the computer playing along with you. or switching turns as player one. Like, I don't know. This It may have slipped past them and they may have not been able to see it, but I just can't help it because they Capcom's been having these problems with their games. And it's just like, okay, one game, okay, two games, and you really shouldn't be looking at this. More than two games, you need to look at your games before you release them. Clearly, when you release them, any game, they're gonna have like a few bugs or glitches here and there. That's just all games. That's kind of normal. But these are like game breaking. Like player two not even being able to play the game.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I feel like Capcom is one of those companies that we've been talking about a lot, with just a lot of things wrong with their games, and even people who aren't even with Capcom anymore, like they still have problems with their games.
Yeah. It's it's just really interesting to me when you have a game that ran fine on last gen. You wouldn't think there'd be a whole lot to tweak to upgrade it to a new system, and you did it just fine back in March with a newer game, a more demanding game. So for this to happen, I'm going to say this now, this better not happen with Resident Evil 4. Do not mess with my Resi 4. That's going to... I think that will get people in pitchfork mode if they mess that up.
Might happen.